Hi, so I'm going to talk to you today about one of the first mystical experiences that I had. And I was just sat one evening on my couch and in came a very loud, masculine, firm and booming voice. And it really took me back because this isn't something that I'd experienced and I didn't know anybody else that had experienced anything like it. And it said to me, put the makeup brushes down. Now, to give you a little bit of context, I was working as a makeup artist at that point and I wasn't happy and I wasn't enjoying it. I was also at the lowest point of my life and going through a dark night of the soul, which is a total another story in itself. But my life was at such a point where everything had gone wrong anyway. I decided that I had two choices. One was to ignore it and put it to the back of my mind, not tell anybody. And I suppose kind of thinking that I was going a little bit mad. Or the other choice was to decide to listen to it and trust it. Now, I had just started getting more shapes and words and songs through in meditation. So I was starting to realise there was a little bit more to this world just than us and our physical bodies at that time. And I was also reading a lot of spiritual books. So I kind of knew that these things could happen, but I didn't know anybody that it had happened to, and I certainly haven't come from a long line of psychics or knew anybody, particularly in my family, that had had these experiences. And I want to tell you about it today because of how it changed the direction of my life. Now I've had time to look back on it. So I could have ignored it or I could have acted on it. And I decided this time to act upon it because I think I'd seen how bad my life had got. And I was also starting to see that maybe there had been signs along the way. So for example, with this job, I was starting to get really bad headaches and starting to dread going on some of the work that I was doing. And this had been going on for quite a while. But with the ego, I didn't really want to admit that to myself because I'd spent all these years building up a business. So anyway, I started to build down my business and I started to say no to any other work that was coming in, which was very difficult at that time because I'd gone through a separation. I was living on my own for the first time. So turning down money seemed probably a really illogical thing to be doing right at that time. But as soon as I made that decision and that I was going to trust this voice, I didn't look back once and I didn't miss it. So once I actually sold my makeup kit, got rid of everything, and I never once regretted it. I never looked back and thought, oh, I wish I was still doing that. But there's two things that came out from that decision that it was really significant. And number one was that now I'd started to trust that inner voice because now I look back, I think that was my higher self talking to me. Now I decided I was going to trust that. I started getting more stuff through. And I think that's how it works. Once they realise that you're listening, however you think it could be. So for some people, they'd say it was guides or higher self. Leave that totally up to you what you want to call it. But this particular time, I think it was my higher self speaking to me. And from then on, I developed at the most rapid rate. And what I mean by that is that the communication started coming through so much more in meditation, and I started getting sentences through, songs through, all sorts, way too much to go into here. But that's been one of the most precious gifts that's come out of this, and it's something that can't be taken away from you. Once you start down that path, the more communication you're going to get through and the more you're going to start trusting in yourself too, which is one of the most important things, and starting to see and trust those signs. So for example, the signs that were speaking through my body leading up to that particular period, that I should probably be stopping what I was doing, but I didn't listen. Hence, in comes the booming voice. And the second thing that I just want to say today is I think that choice also put me on a different train track or timeline, if you will. Because what happened after I stopped doing that is I approached work and I got more hours because I was working there part-time. I actually got more hours at work. And what that enabled me to do the following year was to be able to afford a higher mortgage so that I could go and get my dream place in the country. And where I was when that booming voice came through, I was very unhappy. I was living in a flat which wasn't me. It was kind of an interim period after my separation, and I never ever settled there. And me making that decision, going getting more hours at work, served me in that it allowed me to do something that I didn't think was possible for me, which was to buy a place in the country. And here I am now, living it. So that was one major thing that happened in my life. And I think if I hadn't listened to it, I could still be in a similar situation now. And I think it's really propelled me forward, not only in personal development, but in my circumstances as well, and my environment and where I was living. And where I'm living now is just so much more aligned with me, and I love the peace and quiet and all the nature around me. So I just wanted to make this video today to really press a point of how important it is to listen to our inner guidance, and how that one big mystical experience has now led to so much more guidance along the way, and has really opened me up. So I've always been very highly sensitive anyway, but even more so now, and I'm starting to pick up on them nuances, very small whispers that we get through our body and through intuition and what the universe is trying to tell us. I would really also love to hear your own experiences. Have you had a mystical experience like this? Have you had a voice coming in to give you guidance at a time where you were maybe at crisis point or really needed some guidance at the time? And has that helped you develop your own intuition and abilities? So I'm going to wrap up today because it's absolutely freezing cold, and I would love to hear from you. So please drop something in the comments, and take care, and thank you for listening.